Hey guys, welcome back to the crew, where our group will be discussing the 1820 Compromise and the 1850 Compromise. Before we start the project, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that little bell, if you want.
Now let's get to the video. The 1820 Compromise, which is also known as the Missouri Compromise, was a compromise that was introduced by the senator of the time, Henry Clay, and signed by the president of the time, James Monroe. The compromise proposed that Missouri would enter the United States Union as a slave state. Although this was the great thing for the slave state count, this caused an issue between the balance of the slave states and free states, which was 11 free and 11 slave at the time. Even though the addition of Missouri would have disturbed the balance of free states and slave states, Maine would be added to the Union as a free state, balancing the number of free states and slave states. The compromise also included a new law that would ban slavery over the 36° 30 parallel on the United States map over Louisiana Territory, which is the territory the U.S. had at the time. Although the system worked for many years, the Missouri Compromise would eventually be repealed in 1854 because of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which brought popular sovereignty, breaking the rule of the 36° 30 parallel.
On to the 1850 Compromise.
Henry Clay proposed in his compromise Texas would be given $10 million, which would be used to pay off their debts to Mexico. California entered as a free state, which would ruin the balance between slave states and free states. But to balance it out, a law called the Fugitive Slave Law was passed, which made civilians had to help slaves go back to their slave masters. Washington, D.C. would outlaw the slave trade, but would still allow slavery to continue.
For this reason, the Underground Railroad became even more active and reached its peak during the 1850s to 1860s. Although the compromise made a settlement between the North and the South between balance, tension between the two still existed, meaning the two weren't completely settled after the argument, making the nation even more divided. The 1850 Compromise would eventually be repealed by the Congress on June 28, 1864, as well as the Fugitive Slave Act, which would lead to the outbreak of the Civil War.